God, we come together today on this Gaudete Sunday, and we ask you to please let our time together and let this celebration really magnify your greatness in this world. Amen.
Amen.
In the gospel passage today, John is in prison, and so he has to send out some people to kind of ask Jesus a question. He just wants to get some clarification. And the question was about, are you the one, or should we wait for somebody else? But I feel like that this comes to us in a way. It was beautifully read by Deacon Ron. But when you think about it, we really don't know what the emphasis was, or what the energy was, or what the emotion was behind John's question to Jesus. You know, like when you get a text message, like sometimes I'll get a text message from Jeff and it'll say, "Where are you?" And it could say, well, it could mean like, "Where are you? I'm in danger. I have a flat tire, and I need to be somewhere." That's usually what I think. Or, "Where are you? Oh gosh, I'm late for something. Where am I? I know I'm late. I should be somewhere else." Or just, "Where are you?" You just don't really know sometimes the context of what's being said there. So this question that John is asking of Jesus could have a lot of different meanings behind it. He could be saying, now, like, you really can't be the one, right? I mean, like, really, what's the deal? Or it could have been, "Oh, come on, we're still waiting for somebody. That's really what we're waiting for." Or it could be, "You really are the one." So what is he really saying? So let's look at maybe these three possibilities of what could be behind John's question. The first could be, you can't be. So we need to be waiting for somebody else, right? Well, you think about this. Think about John and his time in that culture. People have been waiting for centuries for this Messiah to come. And here are these people that are under this Roman occupation, an oppressive, violent occupation where people were being crucified for no reason, where things were happening, where people were being violated left and right by this Roman rule or whatever. It was an oppressive, violent situation. And I think that they thought, well, this Messiah is going to come and really lay the axe at the root of all these problems. And this guy's going to take charge and really going to make it happen. So maybe that's what they were waiting for, was somebody that was going to change this system, to turn this system on its head and say, we need to do something different. So if that's what John's idea was, but then he hears that Jesus is out hanging with lepers and out, kind of working with people that can't see and spending time with them and having dinner with Pharisees and stuff like that were sort of buddying up to all this oppressive stuff. John must have wondered, what in the world? No wonder he asked, "Now, are you really the one?" But then I think about this, and I think about the fact that despite this oppressive system, the loving presence of God, the creator of the universe, the all-powerful, amazing God that gave us life and gave centuries of people life and gave this world to be in and this universe to be in, that he's there present with the people that are suffering. He's right there with them. He's walking with them. He's with them. He's holding hands with them. Even if, like society was saying, don't even touch these people because they're unclean, he was there with them. He was bringing a voice to the injustice in a way that was not about an axe or about a gun or about knives or anything like that. It was about love and presence and community and relationship. He's there bringing about his presence, really each one of them, and that brings healing. So I kind of think about this time that people finding joy or finding goodness or finding presence in Jesus and what he's doing. It's not a violent overturning of the system. So probably John the Baptist was probably wondering, how can we find a presence, or how can we be saved, or how can we find a messianic gift here with all this oppression going on around us? I feel like here it is thousands of years later, and we could probably be asking the same thing. I feel like we're in a system right now that's oppressive, that where immigrants' lives are in danger, where health care is in danger, where people who are in child care are really struggling, and we can't pay for it. All the different systemic things that are happening around us right now. But that doesn't mean that we can't still be kind, still reach out to people that maybe our society feels like is a leper, that we can't still love people that maybe we struggle with, that we can't still be present with those that are feeling isolated, that we can't still do what we can to advocate for goodness and peace and justice and going up against this injustices that we face. I think Christ's witness a couple of thousand years ago is still alive in our hearts today. To think, how can we bring about a sort of a subversive joy into this world that we live in? A subversive gift of peace and presence, so that we're overturning a system, maybe that's not so overarching, but a system that is in the life that we live in the community that we share, and the way that we live our life each day. So when we think about this, maybe John the Baptist isn't asking the question of what in the world, you can't really be the Messiah, can you? Because we that he can be, that he is in our heart and our life through the kindness and the love and the presence that we share with one another. Well, maybe the second thing is, really, we should still be waiting on somebody else, right? Now that tone to that question could be more of a job security question for John the Baptist. I mean, he was a prophet, and he had a lot going on, and people were out coming to see him, and he was back. He had a whole industry going on. I mean, that was a pretty good thing that he had going. But then now, here comes somebody else, and he's supposed to fade into the background and put this Messiah to the front. So that must have been kind of hard for him to think, wow, I was getting all the headlines, and now here comes this. Well, I think about that, and I think about what our life as Christians is really all about. And I think the best analogy I can come up with is this. I've run a couple marathons, and so I don't know if any of you ever run a race like this, like a long race like that, where they have people that are pacers, and they run along with you, and they have a sign, like if you want to finish in 4 hours or 4.5 hours or something like that, they have a sign that says the time, and if you run along with them, then you know that you're going to meet the time that they have for their sign. So those pacers, though, they don't get a medal, they don't get to place. They're just doing it. And so then when the people that are running the race finish, the pacers kind of back away and then let the people that ran kind of get the headlines or the shining moment or whatever. I think that's kind of a cool image of what it means to be a Christian in this world. To say, all right, how can I put forth the gifts and the talents and the love and the grace and the goodness of other people? How can I let Christ shine through others that are in my life and let them really glow in the way that in the best way that they can? To think about what if our life plan as Christians was to say that I'm going to do everything I can to let myself kind of blend into the background, but put the love of Christ, the presence of Christ, the gift and the justice, motivation of Christ out front and out forward. If that was the way that I lived my life, then wow, just think how this world could be if we all lived that way. How can I put Christ forward and not be so worried about me getting the headline or me getting the attention or whatever it is? Now, thinking about John the Baptist here, I can't think that he'd still want to be worried about his job security. He did a good job, good and faithful servant. He did it. So maybe we can follow in his footsteps and put Christ forward at all times. This last one, I think this idea of this feeling of maybe joy that John the Baptist had. That you are the one. I'm so excited that you're out there. I'm so excited that you're present in this world and that you're there. What a great thing to think about on this Gaudete Sunday. That for centuries our church has celebrated with this pink candle. I mean, the other purple kind of shade is a little bit more of a kind of maybe like things are not quite complete. We might call it penitence or something, but just there's an incompleteness to that purple shade. What's left out here? But this pink is a little bit of a moment of joy in the middle of this moment where we can say, hey, look, this rose color or this pink color, this is a moment of joy. But when we think about what is joy, what is joy? I think about joy sometimes, I've always thought about it, about being happy. Oh yeah, I'm excited, we're having a party, or we're having a dinner, or there's something great, happiness, that's joy, isn't it? But I think over the years I've kind of learned something different. John the Baptist was in prison, and he was experiencing the joy of Christ's presence in that prison cell. Now, this week I was blessed beyond measure to be with Nancy and her family during the time of her last breaths on this earth. It was a real honor for me to be able to be there. But that room, I know the family here may be thinking that room was not filled with happiness. It was filled with sadness and grief at the loss of someone who was so deeply loved and so deeply cared for. There was not happiness really, but I truly did feel a sense of joy. There was a sense of joy of a life wonderfully lived, a life fully lived, a life where family members were able to say that they cared for her and be able to give that wonderful blessing to her as she took the last breaths in this part of her existence as she transitioned to the next. I think that in that hospital room was not happiness, but it was joy. And so when I think about a moment like that I was able to be a part of and loved being a part of, I think about us and the bigger experience of our life. Jesus, I'm sure he struggled. There were moments of happiness probably for him. Maybe getting to eat dinner with his disciples or kind of joke around and stuff like that with them, and that was happiness. But I think his really understanding what he valued, the value of love and justice and presence, that he was able to live those moments out despite being the object of obstinance and the object of anger and the object of violence in his life. It wasn't always happiness, but there was a sense of joy and fulfillment that was there in him. How can we find that on our path? Yeah, it's great to have a little bit of happiness here and there. I think that's a kind of a spice to our life. I think many times, sadly, in my life, I've chosen happiness over joy. Like, if I can just feel good in the moment, and I'll fix all this other stuff later. I'll do something to make myself feel happy right now and then worry about the rest later. Well, that's a mistake, I think. Maybe sometimes giving up a little bit of happiness to find that true sense of joy is truly the call of us as faithful people following the footsteps of Jesus Christ, who wasn't always all about happiness, but sure was all about finding joy, the joy of the kingdom that's about peace and justice and love. So maybe we might all be asking different questions, like, who are you? What are you doing? Are we waiting for somebody else? What's the question here that we hold, just like John the Baptist was asking? And maybe we have different tones in which we're asking that question. But really, I think that bottom line, the answer to any question that we're asking today is that we're called to live a life of joy. And joy isn't just, hey, let's go to a party. But joy is, how do I live with justice? How do I live with grace? How do I live with love in every aspect of my life? Amen?
Amen.